Yes, people, and welcome back to the channel. Look, let's not beat around the bush. There is nowhere for Tottenham to hide currently. We are 4 points above the drop zone. And when you look at 2026, we are yet to win a league game this season. A much more worrying situation than it was even last year. And I'm a little bit concerned that we're kind of sleepwalking into relegation. So I thought, you know what, today, let's take a look at the last 11 games of the season and decide what our future could hold. And to do that, I've got a fellow lifelong suffering Spurs fan and fellow YouTuber as well, Ben Bowman, in the building today. How are you, brother?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. I feel like I've just about got over the North London derby. It's Wednesday now. We're recording this, and you're kind of then in the sort of stretch towards looking to Fulham at the weekend and starting to feel a bit anxious about that. But I'm okay. I'm good, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I'm not. It's actually a pleasure to have you. I've seen kind of your bits and your TikToks kind of doing everywhere. Guys, make sure you are subscribed to his channel as well. I will be leaving all the socials and everything in the descriptions. We are actually both on the road to 20K. So hopefully before the end of the season, we can hit those targets. But as you said, North London derby was on the weekend. I don't even want to dwell on that, honestly. And that's exactly why I wanted to film it kind of today, because I was like, yo, let's just have a bit of space between that. Because I think every Spurs fan is kind of a little bit tired of talking about it. And before we even dive into the predictions, we haven't really had a chance to kind of catch up this season and really talk about this season as well. But what have you made of this weird, freakish Tottenham season? Because I feel like last year when we finished 16th, won the Europa League or whatever, we looked at that league campaign and thought, all right, we'll accept this year because it's a bit of a one-off.
Yeah.
But we should be back, next year. And then in the summer, Thomas Frank obviously comes in. We make some signings, but did you expect this season to go the way it did? And at what point for you did you realize that this was going to be a car crash season?
Yeah, not at all. I didn't expect us to be in this situation again. And like you said, it's far more precarious than where we were at last year. As Ange kind of said it in the Stick to Football piece, it was like we were never really in a relegation battle. I think that said more about the teams that came up last year rather than us as a side. And we got quite lucky in that aspect. And I think obviously this year it's only taken one team in Sunderland to kind of break the mold out of those promoted sides to then really drag a few other teams into trouble. I mean, I've said it many times. I was like quite pro Frank in the summer. I thought he was the right kind of guy. I thought he was going to be the right sort of bridge between having a really gung-ho attacking manager in Postecoglou and then bringing in someone with an element of pragmatism that also was able to kind of platform and improve attacking players. And I felt like he was sort of a sensible appointment. I think the first few months of the season, obviously there were some red flags, but I was still like, let's give him a bit of time to kind of settle down, get his in-possession game kind of sorted, which I think was the biggest issue that we were probably having in the first few months. But you said there, when was the point where you started to feel like this could be a bit of a car crash? It was the Arsenal game at the Emirates. Like Chelsea a couple of weeks before was really bad.
Yeah.
But then I think we had an international break just after that. And I think it was like, okay, right, look, let's just kind of reset a little bit. That was humiliating. We cannot go and approach another derby like that. Hopefully he learns for the Arsenal game. And then bear in mind, we'd gone to Man City away at the start of the season, been really brave, been really aggressive, got in their faces and made stuff happen as a result of that. And then at the Emirates, it was more of the same. And then the Fulham game at the weekend, I think that was the first time I said he needs to be sacked. Like that game where we lost 2-1 and Harry Wilson scored that goal.
Yeah.
Like, that was my turning point, and I've never been able to go back. I think there was a moment in January where we were playing those Champions League games and it didn't feel like they were going to sack him. I kind of checked out of the discourse a little bit. I was like, I think he needs to go, but if they're going to keep him, they're clearly not going to get rid. So it's like, how do we make the best out of a bad situation? And then they go and make the decision. They make it far too late, in my opinion, and it's kind of got us into this mess. So I didn't anticipate it. But it's scary, man. It's really scary.
Honestly. And I think that kind of indecisiveness, I feel like through that period was such a crucial period in that January. I said this, for me, was the most important January since I think Juan de Ramos got sacked in the 08-09 season.
Yeah.
And I did a video a few weeks back kind of comparing how we reacted back then compared to how we reacted this time. And in that 08-09 season, it was like before the window came, we knew we had to bring in a different manager. We brought in Harry Redknapp in the January. We went in, we got Robbie Keane, Jermaine Defoe, Wilson Palacios, Carlo Cudicini to step in for a flailing Juan Gomez, who had just got signed in the summer. And it just gave us that bit of stability. And by the end of the season, we finished 8th.
Yeah.
And I looked
Bear
at
in
that
mind, weren't we 18th as well in January
yes,
still at that
we
point?
were 18th going into that January, and Harry Redknapp, I think, had picked up about 13 points leading up to it. So he'd actually done a decent job, enough to say, back me this January. And I thought, hold on, are they going to try? Is this the reason why they're clinging on to Thomas Frank? Because as you said, I thought there were a few points before that. The Chelsea game for me was I'll be honest with you, for me, the Champions League games, when the early games, I don't know if you remember the games against Monaco, the games against
Monaco was
Clint,
so bad.
the games against Villarreal where we even won 1-0. Those are the ones where I looked at and went, yo, what are we seeing here? And then I remember when it got to the Liverpool game, which I think was the last game before the January
Christmas.
window.
Yeah, it was just before Christmas.
And I said, if this one, I don't see some semblance of a game plan, I need him gone. Because after this comes the January window, you've got Aston Villa in the FA Cup. I can't sacrifice, that potential cup run and a potential good window for Thomas Frank. They stuck with him. And I thought, you know what? All right, maybe they're going to do what they did with Harry Redknapp. They're going to tool him up or whatever. Once we walked away with that window with Conor Gallagher, a signing that, in my personal opinion, and I've seen you, Kish, and Tobes as well. And it's so funny because you guys are some of the voices I listen to. And I was like, it seems like we're the only ones who it's not like we don't like Conor Gallagher. I actually like Conor Gallagher. I think he's a good player, and in the right team, in the right system, he could definitely do a job. Did we need him per se? No. I thought he was just another chip off the old block of what we've currently got. Pape Sarr, Bergvall, Bentancur. And in my opinion, he was blocking the pipeline for players like Archie Gray and Bergvall to really develop and flesh out. And I think us as Spurs fans, we've bought a lot of stocks, if you like, into those youngsters, hoping that they grow into that. And Conor Gallagher, breaking the wage barrier for him just to almost like have another body in midfield because Bentancur got injured. It stunk of desperation for me.
Yeah.
And then the Sousa signing, I feel like the left back position has been a problem for us for the past 2 years with Udogi's injuries. And Ben Davies has been the only backup. And despite knowing for 3 or 4 windows, because I felt like in the summer we needed to address that, you go and get Sousa. I said, hold on, man. Like, no offense to Sousa. I hope he proves me wrong. Turns out to be a Marcelo. But signing a kid from Santos, who I know we're going to be told he's not ready. And clearly, North London derby on the weekend, that left back position, we needed someone. He was not ready to start. So it's a case of, what the hell did we sign this guy for? So time and time again, I feel like there have been so many points throughout the season where we could have potentially turned it around. We could have potentially saved our season. When we played Sunderland in January, I remember, had we beat Sunderland, we would have gone into the European places and jumped over them in 7th.
Yeah.
After that, it was just a decline. Because as I mentioned at the start of the video, we are yet to win a league game in 2026. Like, do you know how mad that sounds? We're 5 days away from March, bro.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I think I agree with so much of what you said there about the recruitment. And I think I've always been with Johan Lang. I said it at the end of the January transfer window. I was like, if Spurs get relegated in the summer, that interview that he sat down and did with the club at the end of January is going to age like milk, because it's like, you really want to sit there and say that you didn't want to panic when you looked at the other teams in and around you spending money as well. Palace, look what they've done to go and kind of make sure they try and get themselves out of the situation. West Ham getting in players on loan, recognising the importance of getting bodies in the squad to kind of, bring a bit of character or bring a bit more quality. I think they've kept, like, I'm sure we'll touch on it when we speak about the other teams down there, but I think they've kept 3 clean sheets in their last 4 games since they've brought in Disassi. And I'm not saying that I necessarily rate him that much, but for us to go out and do what we did, go out and sign another unproven youngster. And look, with Johan Lang, I've never massively had a huge issue with the actual players that he has signed for us. I think he's a good scout. I think he's good at identifying talent, but I think he's way out of his depth in terms of the role that he has been tasked with to be the director of football and kind of lead the recruitment for the club. Because it's been, as you said, when you were talking about the left back situation, and that team that you saw in the North London derby on Sunday was a direct result of the mismanagement of the squad for such a long time, because you've got so many players in square pegs in round holes. You're kind of banking on guys like Archie Gray and Jed Spence to just be like Swiss Army knives rather than going out and signing the players in the position that really warrants them. It then leads Porro to finally get an injury. I don't know how he's only got injured once, basically, since he's been at Spurs. You're banking on him. Like, he played the most amount of football under Ange, I think, out of any player. Now he finally gets injured. You've got to move Spence over to right wing back for a point, which then means what do you do at left wing back? But then you haven't got either on either side. So then you still want to play Spence on the left, then go out right. It's so ridiculous, man. It's so bad.
Honestly, it's absolute chaos, as you said. And Honestly, I think everybody's tried to kind of come up answers for it one way or another, but we are in the same situation that we are in now, 4 points off the drop zone with 11 games to go. And I've kind of got a little Excel spreadsheet set up here in the back with kind of the fixtures list. Got a column with my name, column with your name, and I kind of just want to go through each game because honestly, I think there's almost like an array of fixtures of big games, tough away games, home games that should be winnable, but you and I both know what our home form has been like this season, so nothing there is guaranteed. So let's just go through kind of each game and let me know if you think it's a win, a draw, or a loss. Get involved in the comments as well. I want to know you guys' thoughts. Let me know next to each fixture, a win, a loss, or a draw, what you think as well. Get involved in the comments. First one, obviously this weekend, Fulham away. I always feel like Fulham has always been a weird, tricky one. We've had a couple of 1-0 wins. I remember Harry Winks once upon a time scoring like a last-minute dagger one.
Yeah, and Kudu with the brilliant cross to the back post. Yeah,
we've had a good couple of times there, but Fulham, I think just this weekend they had beaten Everton, if I'm not mistaken.
Sunderland. It was they beat Sunderland away.
Yeah, Sunderland away 3-1, which was a massive result. But they're such a confusing team. 11 wins, 12 losses this season. You never know which kind of Fulham is going to turn up, but you also never know which type of Tottenham is going to turn up. What do you make of this game?
It's a tough one, really, because they went on a bit of a tricky. I think they lost 3 games in a row before they beat Sunderland.
Playing the 2 Manchester sides in there, I think it was.
Yeah, and their performances in those games were good. I think it was a day of the Man City game. They played Fulham. They played United, away, and that was a game I was watching in the pub before the Spurs game.
Yeah,
and they played well. Like they got back into the game in the second half. They had chances. United kind of got a bit of a dagger at the end with Sesko. Even in that Man City game a couple of weeks ago, City blitzed them in that first half. They played some amazing football, but Fulham had their own opportunities on the break. They just didn't really take them. They played good football. I think when you look at some of their threats as well versus what we have got out as a team at the moment, even though there's rumours that Porro and Danso might be back, which I think is actually so big for Spurs if that is true. But you think of the way that Kevin's starting to find a bit of confidence now, Harry Wilson, the way that he's playing at the moment, they're not going to fear us at all. No, this is the worrying thing about this run-in. Even when the teams come to play us at home, nobody fears us whatsoever, and they're just going to turn up, try and play their football. And I feel like the more we kind of sit back and just allow them to do that, they have got the threats to really, really create and kind of get up behind our back line.
100%.
I think if Porro and Danso are back, I think that is big, because I thought Dragusin, despite the fact that I think he defended with good heart in that first half, he really, really tried. That lack of quality was there for all to see in the second half. And I think if you can bring Danso in for Dragusin.
Yeah, it slowly started to deteriorate. You can see Gyökeres, once Gyökeres starts looking good, I have to look at you a little bit funny, bro.
Yeah. It says a lot that he scored against all the relegation. He's stat padded just against the relegation teams, isn't it? It's. I wonder if his agent will be looking at that while he's trying to ship him off anywhere else. I think there's been a lot of discourse as well, and I'd be interested what you think about whether he should stick with the 5 at the back for Fulham or whether he should kind of change it immediately. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he'll kind of go with it. And if Danso comes back in, would it be for Paulinho? Would it be for Dragusin? I'm not sure.
That's the funny thing for me, because when he came in his first initial press conference, he said he wasn't going to try and almost impose his system per se or his style of play. He knew the kind of injury situation we were walking into, and he said he's going to try and fit the best system that suits the players that he has. But then in the North London derby, I saw Jed Spence at left back again. I saw Archie Gray at right back. I saw Conor Gallagher as a second striker and Paulinho at centre back. And that's the square pegs in the round hole thing you were talking about. So don't think we currently have the personnel to play the 5 at the back, especially with. Romero's back from suspension, isn't he?
No, he's gotten 2 more games. Because I forgot it was his second red. I was doing the same thing. I was like, no, he'll be back for Palace, but no, he's 2 games because it's his second red card.
Yeah. Then for me, I'm sorry, I think the back 4 is kind of what makes sense. I'll be honest with you. Whether that's Jed Spence, Van der Ven, Danso, and Porro, or Paulinho, you want to slot in there with maybe an Archie Gray at right back. But for me, I think the back 4, I feel like with the back 5, it works well. But what I saw against the Arsenal game was it was a back 3. I felt the fullbacks or the wing backs were too far higher. So many moments where Jed Spence and Archie Gray were getting caught in these no man's land, and 1 or 2 balls over the top, and we were 3-on-3. We were 4-on-3. And I was like, whoa, that's the danger I feel like that comes with the back 3, back 5 is if 1 or 2 players get caught out of position, it just leaves you so stretched and far apart where you would think the numbers and the bodies should be there. So I personally hope he does kind of tweak his system. But in this type of game, I don't know, because as I said, Fulham is a weird one. I'm looking at players like Iwobi, Wilson, and even Jimenez. Jimenez is the type of player who, on his day, honestly, you could just turn around and just bully your entire back line if he wants to. I've gone for a loss on this one, if I'm being honest. I think with us struggling for form at the minute, with us struggling for rhythm, with us struggling for goals, I think, as you said, no team really fears us because even we struggle to understand how we're going to play game to game. We don't know what system we're even going to use. And we're, nearly 30 games into the season? And I don't know. I just can't see us at the moment, this being the game which, things click for us. Maybe when one or two more bodies come back over the next couple of weeks. But I think this week it's still going to be one of those kind of rough away days, in my opinion.
I'm kind of with you on that. I want to be slightly more optimistic and say I think we'll get a point, but I do definitely agree. I think it could be one where we maybe nick a point near the end, and then that does give us a bit of confidence going into the game against Palace, which I think is almost. I mean, every game is as big as each other at the moment, but that Palace game at home, giving the players a proper chance to respond after what was a really poor North London derby, like you said, with a couple more players maybe coming back for that one, because if Porro and Danso aren't quite ready for Fulham, or maybe not enough to start, they probably should be for Palace's next Thursday, right? It's the midweek game after this. So maybe that gives them more of a chance to be kind of more ready for that game. I think with those two, like Porro especially, I think that Burnley game, which was the last game he played, was I think the worst game he's ever had for Tottenham, where he got hooked at half time. But I think, as I said earlier, it's as a result of that constant overplaying. And I think when he is back fit, I think maybe this reset will have actually maybe done him quite good, because I actually think, despite the fact that he can irritate me at times, I think he is a bit of a natural leader on that pitch, and he improves the technical floor of the team, which is something 100%. That is massively lacking at the moment. Like, there was a big debate online the other day and I made a video on it myself about, is Spurs' biggest issue like quality or mentality? I think it's a bit of both, but I think it's too easy to just pin it on they're not trying, they don't look up for it. I think there's an element of that, but I think more of an issue is in terms of like they don't know what to do in terms of when they're on the ball playing through the thirds. I think there's just a real severe technical drop-off compared to some of the other teams that we're playing. So I think if you can get someone like Porro back, especially like when Tudor wants to play more of his natural game, which we're probably not going to see as much against Arsenal, wants to overload the flanks, get players in the wide areas and get crosses into the box, I think Porro will be key. So if we can get him back for Palace, with the way that they're playing at the moment, I actually think that's one we will win, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Palace game.
That leads perfectly into that one, because honestly, so you're going for a draw against Fulham, are you?
Yeah, I'm with you, but I'll try. I want to try and speak it into existence and say, I'm totally with you though in terms of how you feel about it.
On the Palace game, though, I do agree. I think that's the one that I'm looking at as like, Tudor, I need you to get your first win here. And you should have a few more bodies back. I know it's a midweek game. And listen, even if we write this kind of Fulham game off as a loss or whatever, I think that is the one where I'm looking at. Palace are also struggling. Palace are also kind of going through this kind of weird lull, I feel like, since January. I mean, Glasner seems like he's on mission implosion at the moment, I'll be honest with you. The way he's kind of been managing the club. They have managed to obviously get a couple of wins, obviously, with Brighton, I think it was.
Yeah, Brighton, they beat Wolves at the weekend. But Wolves again, that was another one I was keeping an eye on before the game on Sunday. It was like they weren't that convincing. It still feels like there is an element of frailty around them at the moment. But that's more like, I think, the off-the-pitch stuff seeping in. And they've got Europe. They've got the second leg of their European tie this week as well. And then obviously they've got to play on Sunday away at Old Trafford. So they've obviously, I mean, it didn't really mean anything in the Arsenal game because Arsenal had a lot of fixtures before they had to play us. But hopefully maybe tired legs creeping in a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I think with that one as well, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like if we can't beat Palace at home, then I'm looking at this as like, we might actually deserve to go down.
Yeah, it's proper panic stations. If it isn't already, I think that would be.
And my only fear in that one game, I'll say, is having seen Brennan Johnson absolutely stink it up for the past 2 months.
You know it's happening.
We all know what's coming.
I'll raise you one. They sacked Glasner before that game because it gets too toxic. They bring in Thomas Frank and then they beat us. With Brennan Johnson scoring the last minute winner.
I said this the other day. I said, yo, I can weirdly see a funny situation where some way, somehow Glasner is in such an implosion job. And I said, weirdly, I actually think Thomas Frank is a perfect fit for a team like Palace.
Yeah.
If he then goes there right before he plays us, Brennan Johnson and him just turn it up. I said, it's the most Spurs thing to ever happen. But we're both going for the win for Palace, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right then, Liverpool away.
Just don't bother. It's the thing is with Liverpool. Obviously, they've not. I've watched them quite a bit over the last couple of months, and
Yeah.
you're still they still don't. There's games where they look like Liverpool, but there's still been so many where they just don't look themselves. Forest again away. They were very lucky on Sunday. Fulham kind of got Fulham. Yeah, sorry, Forest, not Fulham. Forest ran all over them in that first half. Should have probably scored. I think Forest have had the most amount of shots in the Premier without scoring over the last couple of games. It's like, again, when you talk about other teams playing well, they deserve something against Liverpool. But that doesn't mean that I think that we're going to go there and get anything, because it's just not a very happy hunting ground for us at all, is it?
Hell no.
So I'm going to go for a loss for that one.
Well? I always feel like the Liverpool games, especially Liverpool v Spurs, there is always some kind of freak controversy, freak scenario, weird way that we just some way somehow don't win the game. I genuinely almost write off Anfield every year as just like a forget about it. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like this is one of those, for me, this is one of those games where I'm kind of more looking at it as, please just don't let it get ugly. Just don't let it be, an absolute flogging. But I think it's fair to say, I think most Spurs fans will be looking at this one as a loss. Then Forest at home after that, which I am really looking at as the first 6-pointer of the season, if you like. And I never thought we'd be in situations where we'd be talking about 6-pointers, but here we are.
For context, is that is the international break after the Liverpool game, or is it Forest then the international break?
I
think it might be. I think it can. I think it's Forest.
No,
then
Forest, it's after the Forest game. After the Forest game, there's an international break. Yeah.
So I was just thinking about getting players back and those kind of things, because I mean that is a huge game, like an absolutely huge game. I kind of touched on it then about when watching them against Liverpool at the weekend, but I think Vitor Pereira was really a really good appointment for them. Like, I don't think he's going to rip up any trees in the long term, and I'm not saying that he's definitely going to keep them up. But you look at what he did with Wolves last season, the kind of camaraderie that he was able to inject into the team, the relationship with the fans. I think Forest have got the best squad available at the moment out of any team that's down there. Like, I think them and West Ham are both playing well. They both look like they've got a bit of momentum. But you look at Forest starting lineup, especially that midfield, like, it's so much better than what we're able to put out at the moment. And it's just like
they would all walk in. They would all walk in.
Mate, 100%. Even Sangare would walk in right now. Like, they'd all get in there. And it's like, obviously, I said just now that I think they've had like 50 plus shots in the last couple of games without scoring. They had 30 plus shots against Wolves and couldn't score. And that's when Dyche got sacked. And then they had a lot of chances against Liverpool on Sunday. So it's one of those things where obviously that shows that they're not really converting their chances. But also, it only takes one game for them just to get a bit of confidence, and everything starts kind of flooding. If they get a win before they then play us, they're not going to be coming to our place with any fear whatsoever, even if they weren't already, as I said. And I just feel like we're with this Forest Spurs thing that's kind of manifested over the summer with everything with Marinakis and everything with Gibbs White and all that kind of stuff. I'm not looking forward to that game at all. Like that, if they get 3 points at our place, that is dark. Like that is proper panic stations, I think.
That's the moment for me. That will be one of the darkest moments right there, I'll be honest with you. And I think you look at kind of Forest's season as well. By the way, we've lost to Forest for the last 3 games. They did double over us last year and then one before that as well. So 3 games in a row where they've kind of battered us as well. But it's just one of those games where I feel like it's a do or die game, I'll be honest with you, because that can set off a dangerous, slippery slope, in my opinion. And our home form this season, I think we've got 2 wins at home in the league all season, which might be one of the worst home forms, I think, in Premier League history that I've ever seen.
Especially for a club the size of that, it's horrendous. Like, it's
especially
horrendous.
For a club that brags about its stadium, and it's like it's the pride and glory of our whole club. Basically, is this stadium that we hang our hat on, and we've somehow turned it into a circus, basically. So honestly, I'm hoping that this is one of those games where I'm looking at the fans, I'm looking at the atmosphere in that stadium, and I'm like, please just make it worthwhile, so these lot can play with some kind of gusto during that game, because honestly, they'll need it. Because
and to be sorry, go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I think, to be fair, like that's the thing where I think the Arsenal game was almost like we saw them wilt a little bit in that second half of the Spurs team. But I do feel like Forest, obviously the circumstance will be a lot more clear as we get nearer to the end of the season. That's kind of 4 games from now. I feel like these players and this manager, they will pick up in that situation where they realise that this is do or die. And I do think that you probably will then see players probably start to step up a little bit more, because there's kind of two ways of looking at this with this squad, right? Because are they just going to coast through to the end of the season knowing that a lot of these players are going to get their moves regardless of what's happening? Or are they looking at it in terms of that and looking at the World Cup potentially and those kind of things? If I don't start performing, I'm either not going to get picked or the team that I really want isn't going to come in for me. So there's that. Yeah. But also I think that those home games, I think we know, like we saw in the first half against Arsenal, that atmosphere can really, really make a difference. I think Spurs fans will be really, really up for that Forest game. So I do think it's one of those ones where maybe the players see it as more of a winnable one. They just gain naturally a little bit more confidence from that, and they actually go out and get the job done. Yeah. I think if we beat Forest and we beat Palace, I think we'll be fine. And I think if we can get it done that quickly, get 6 points on the board, because I think we probably only need 4 wins at most.
Yeah. I said 3 wins and a couple of draws. I think that should be enough, in my opinion, because really and truly, 40 points should do you the justice. And we've got 29 currently. So that's 11 points. So 3 wins and 2 draws. So for me, it's a case of, all right, we've got 11 games. We don't even need to win half of those. Like, we're at the stage, we're so desperate. We're so bad. We're not even looking at that type of situation. We're just saying, look, the bare minimum. And some of these games are actual 6-pointers where not only can we win, but we can also give ourselves a little bit of a distance to those in and around us. And I feel like this being the first one there, we have to take this, honestly. And one thing I did love that also you touched on there in terms of the fans wanting more as well is Igor Tudor at the end of the game as well. And obviously, look, I didn't agree with kind of how he set up the team or whatever. But when he said, what does this club want to be? What do these players want for themselves? What are the goals of this season? I kind of like that he kind of pressed them and pushed them. And I hope for the rest of the season, that is something he does come in and do. Like, don't bullshit around, bro. Like, you're not here for the long term. Call out everything as you see it. You tell Van der Ven to push up if that's what you want in your system. We see that Van der Ven weren't pushing up. Trust me, a lot of people made note of that.
Yeah.
But just demand from these players, demand from this fan base, and demand from this club for these last 11 games. That's all we ask. But me and you are both going for a win for this one.
Let's go for a win, yeah. Again, it's one of those ones that you can see it being a draw, but like I'll lean on the more optimistic side and go for a win. I think it could be a massive, massive game, that.
Look, man, it's been all doom and gloom. We have to try and give a little bit of positivity.
Exactly.
Time, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But next up, we have Sunderland away. This one, I'm also looking at. Bit of a tough fixture. I know the Stadium of Light can be one of those atmospheres that really gets onto players. And I do think, honestly, Sunderland have been one of the almost teams of the season, dare I say.
Yeah, for sure.
Form has been a little bit up and down over the last couple of months or so. Maybe not as great as kind of the first half of the season. But I still think they have more than enough to kind of put us away, in all honesty. I've put this one down as a loss.
Yeah, so obviously their form over the last kind of 6 games or so hasn't been anywhere near as good as it was in the first half of the season. Their unbeaten home record has gone now. They've lost to Liverpool. They've lost to Fulham. They look a bit more leggy now, I think. Obviously, they suffered with a lot of players going away for AFCON. Granit Xhaka was injured as well. And I think have not been able to have him in the team in terms of someone who sets the standards and also just is a quality player on the ball as well is huge. But he's just come back. I think he came off the bench in that game against Fulham. So he's back now. And I feel like maybe having a little bit of time between now and then to reset and then kind of go again off the back of an international break, which again, they're going to lose players in that as well. But so will we. So it doesn't really affect things too much. I could see it being a narrow loss. I could see that kind of like, I can see it just like a dagger in like the last minute or something like that, Sunderland away.
Do you know what
they don't give up. They don't stop fighting.
Yeah. Do you know what I do hope in this type of fixture? There's going to come a point in the season where some of the teams like Sunderland, maybe they don't really have anything to play for, or maybe, Europe's gotten a little bit too far, or they've just kind of settled into, all right, man, let's just get to the end of the season. So I hope maybe Sunderland could be one of those teams that kind of don't really have much going for them, or if they're maybe going to make a late charge to Europe, but we can maybe take advantage of that where we catch them on a bit of a lull, if you like. So I think we've both gone for a loss
as well. Also, you can see it with Spurs where it's like we get sucked in, we win one game, it's like we're going to be fine, and then you go and lose that next one. It's like we beat Forest, and then it's like international break, let's all just calm down a little bit, and then we come back and
Bro,
lose to Sunderland.
It's the one thing about Spurs, you can never ever predict it, because as soon as you think you can, we say we have our own Dr. Tottenham will see you now, brother.
Exactly.
And trust me, we've experienced this one too many times this season. But coming back home again now, Brighton, where do you think this one's going to go?
That's a tough one, because obviously they were on a dire run of form up until they beat Brentford away at the weekend, and even in that, Brentford had their chances away in the Brentford had their chances at home in the second half, which maybe they should have put away. Or Verbruggen made a few good saves, but you just feel like that's them kind of out of it now, where they kind of get threatened to get sucked back in, and maybe that freedom with that not hanging over them, they can kind of just coast through to the end of the season, which again, a little bit like you said with Sunderland, might play into our hands a little bit. But also, they aren't the sort of team that, despite their poor form over the last few months, you can underestimate. Because as soon as you think you're going to get them on a bad day, their better players will just kind of step up. All of a sudden, Belieber has the game of his life. All of a sudden, Welbeck's just, they're just... I think people are looking at that thinking that's probably the most winnable home fixture. But it's, in a way, that's kind of one of the ones that worries me the most. Absolutely. Just because you just don't know what you're going to get from Brighton. So I'm going to say, I reckon in that one, I'm going to say it'll be a draw. I just feel like it's a sort of one we will drop points. And I could see us like beating Forest and then us going, we're going to be fine. And then we drop points at home to Brighton. So I'm going to go for a draw for that.
I've gone the exact same, honestly, because for me, exactly as you said there, it would be the typical Spurs thing to almost like win at Forest, have that big 6-pointer moment where you think, okay, cool. Can we build on this now? And then to get humbled by Sunderland, and then to think, oh, Brighton, we're at home again. And then we're not going to quite get the win. And it's just going to be kind of like one of those weird, ugly draws that we leave frustrated. But it's one of those where, for me, at this point of the season, I'll be real with you, even a draw, every point helps, brother. I'll take that. You know what I mean? So next up, we have the next must-win game in this fixture, and that is Wolves. Bottom of the table Wolves, who weirdly, some way, somehow, over the last couple of weeks have been showing that they've got a little bit of a jab in them.
Yeah.
But this is away as well. We managed to draw with them at home, mind you. Last time we played them, we had Palhinha taking his shirt off, celebrating like he'd scored in the World Cup.
I was so rattled,
bro.
I lost my head, man. I was so gone. I was so
genuinely gone. It was something so minuscule, something so small. But my head was gone for like an entire day. I was like, are we celebrating Wolves? I said, I know you don't score many, but please, we're not that bad in the trenches, because that was early in the season as well. That
was like end of September, I think, around that time. Yeah,
that was like the period where we were still bragging about like, oh, clean sheets. Yeah, Thomas Frank's defensively solid, and we didn't know that was a preview to the rest of the season. But going away to Wolves, what do you make of this one?
I mean, again, we got battered there last year towards the end of the season, didn't we? I remember, obviously, they were kind of on the march to kind of safety, but it's one of those ones where, like you said, they found a little bit recently. I think it's that freedom that every game's a free hit for them now, because they know they're not going to go down. Even against Palace away last week, off the back of the draw against the Gooners, like they were right. They got a penalty, which they missed. They had some chances. Then they got a man sent off, and Palace scored right at the end. There's still fight in this team, because I think they've accepted their fate, and I think they're dangerous teams to play against. But we cannot go there and lose. And like you said, against Brighton, like about the Brighton game, if we get a point there, I'm probably happy with that. A point away at Wolves, I would actually take that. That is a mental thing to say, but I would probably take that. Like if we win that, I think we're absolutely fine. But if we go away because I think I said draw against Fulham, beat Forest, beat Palace, draw against Brighton. If we can get another draw at least against Wolves, then that will. And then factoring in maybe some losses for Forest and West Ham, because their fixtures are probably tougher than ours on paper. Certainly West Ham's. And we've obviously got that buffer. I think you might then start to get to a point where even though the optics of a draw away at Wolves aren't great, you probably take that point. So I'm going to go for a draw in that game.
Fairs. I mean, I want the win. I'll be honest with you. I completely understand the logic of the draw as well, especially because, as you said, they're at that weird stage where they don't really have anything to play for. They knew against Arsenal, we're on our way down, but we're just here to ruin whoever's party we can ruin. And sometimes those are the most dangerous teams, in my opinion, because you can go there thinking, oh, Wolves are already down. We're going to coast and get 3 points. And it ends up being one of those you kind of get snuffed in the face types of games. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think we're going to win that one. I think this is one of those games where I'm really looking at it, and I want the utmost from the manager. I'm looking at certain players. I'm like, these are the types of games where you're playing against the worst team in the Premier League, arguably Premier League history, potentially. There is no excuse to not go out there and show me something.
Roll your sleeves
up.
And, yeah.
100%. This is one of those types of games. Really, if you want to survive, this is one of these games where, I'm sorry, a loss or a draw for me, a draw might as well be as bad as a loss. I know we're saying every point counts, but this is one of those. I'm like, Wolves, come on. You got to give me this win. The fact that we drew at home, you owe me a win this season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I totally hear it. I could just see us like not getting over the line in that one. I'm totally with you. I just got this feeling that we'll draw. We'll just drop there.
No, I feel you. Trust me. After all the trauma we've seen this season, I completely feel you. Aston Villa away. Ooh. This one, I'm not even gonna talk too much. I've just put it down as a loss.
Do you know what? I think we'll get a point there.
Okay, I like this
because at that point in the season,
I know we've gone there a couple times and got results. To be fair, and it's been usually crunch time as well, whether it's Champions League qualifications or late in the season. But
I'd love to get one over them. Like if we can somehow sort of stop their Champions League charge a little bit and get a point. So it's kind of for selfish reasons as much as anything. But I think they'll be at this. When is that game? Is it the start of May or like end of April?
Yes. 1 second. It is 2nd of May.
Because I think it could get to a point with them where what road do they go down? Do they prioritise Europa League football and go and win that competition to get through the Champions League backdoor that way?
Yeah.
And obviously they've got a lot of injuries at the moment, which are, well, not a lot of injuries, but key injuries in that team, which are hampering them. Like Kamara and Tielemans are absolutely huge losses to the way that they play. I think they're going to both be out for a while. John McGinn is out for a while as well. And it's like, what route do they go down in terms of priority? Do they prioritise the league to try and get into the Champions League? Because they've got a few tough games of teams in and around. And I think they've got to play Man United. I think they've got to play Chelsea as well. So it could get to a point in the season where, I mean, I don't know the exact, like the brackets for the knockouts, but they might be playing a Europa League semi-final in and around that, or quarter-final maybe in and around that time. I think more likely to be semis. And I just feel like I could see the stars align a little bit and we go and somehow get a point there. I could see that. Just shut up shop. Villa don't like it when teams set up in low blocks, especially without Tielemans and Kamara, because they haven't got the players to kind of punch the ball through the pockets, break them down. And they struggle with that against Leeds at the weekend. And maybe just go there, hit them on a counter attack, a little 1-1. I'm going to go for an optimistic draw there.
I like that. Draw at Villa. I think I'm going to stick with the loss. Although I would love to see one. I don't know, man. Away, I just can't trust us. Although our away form has been good this year, I do think Villa is one of the toughest away.
Did you see if we win at the weekend? I think we have got the second best away record in the Premier League still. If we win at Fulham,
like it's
insane.
This whole it just doesn't make sense to me, bro. How we got the second best away form in the league and the second worst home form in the league? This club is just a juxtaposition, bro. I don't know how else to explain it. Next up, Leeds at home. This is another one of those I feel like must wins, mandatory. You have to win 6-pointers if you like. And obviously, we had one with the Forest game, with the Wolves game. This is another one of those games that I'm looking at that must be an absolute win. Oh,
sorry, bro. My internet went down just a second there.
Oh, yes. For a second, I was like, "Yo, bro."
I literally just thought, just when you went to kind of after I said that, you started like crashing out, and I was like, "Oh, I just went at the wrong time."
No. All good. But I was just saying, Leeds up next at home. I feel like this is another one of those must-win games.
Yeah.
Another 6-pointer, and I feel like we have to get a result here. I have gone for the win here. And I know, look, our home form has been shaky all season this year, but this is one of those games that I'm like, look, Leeds have been up and down. Leeds have been, really flirting with relegation, but have done just enough to get enough wins to hover above it and not look like contenders. They don't really have many injuries as well this season, but this is one of those games I'm looking at similarly to the Wolves. I need you lot to leave everything out there. I don't care who is out there. I don't care if it's Jed Spence playing in the attacking mid. Brothers, this is one of those games where, because the thing is with this squad, they're going to be looked back in 10, 15 years' times when they, come back to Tottenham. Oh, look, halftime, we're bringing back the Europa League winners of 2025. Guys, you do not want the sourness of that memory being tarnished by also being the same group of players that got Tottenham relegated for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you do not want that. I'm sorry, because I won't be applauding. When you look get brought out, wheeled out at half time, yeah, here's Pedro Porro.
I'll be down the bar.
Do you know what I mean? Yo, had to get a pizza.
Exactly.
And these are the types of games that are defining for me. The Leeds, the Wolves, the Foresters. Those 3 games in particular, 6 pointers. And we're fortunate to have these 6 pointers this late in the season to still be able to get us out. So I'm looking at it as like, this is a must win. You see the same?
Yeah, it's absolutely got to be. Like, Leeds have got real fight, real character about them. I think the only thing I would say about Leeds is that, and I think you kind of touched on it, a lot of people just assume that they're going to be out of this because they are playing well. Don't get me wrong, they are. But I think when that pressure really ramps up towards the end of the season, they could easily get sucked back in to the circus, like as much as we are and Forest are and West Ham are. And they might start to just flap a little bit potentially when that pressure that pressure cooker sort of ramps up.
Yeah.
Then again, the evidence so far across the season, or certainly since December or so, has been that they are a team that can deal with that kind of pressure. So I don't know. It's an absolute must-win game. And again, with it being that close to the end of the season, if we win that, it's over. Like, we're going to be fine, 100%.
Exactly.
So,
I feel like that's the game where you go, if you win that, safety secured, you can almost breathe easy for now. Following obviously all the results that have happened before, if they go the way we kind of want them to. But that for me is the moment where I'm looking at it as like the finish line.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
You're going for a win on this one, yeah?
Let's go for a win against Leeds. Yeah, let's go for it. But to be fair, I think with some of the results we put forward anyway, like, I feel like that a draw might even be enough. But it's like, if we win that, it's 100% fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for a win.
Cool. And then last 2 games, let's do them together. The Blue Boys, Chelsea away and Everton at home. We actually won 2-0 at Everton away at the Hill Dickinson. And Chelsea is always a little bit of a rough one as well. I can't lie to you.
Yeah.
That Everton win as well was one of the early indicators for me about Thomas Frank. I'll be honest with you. I know we won it scoring 2 set pieces, but I remember watching that game and everybody was like, oh, Tottenham are fine. What are Tottenham fans complaining about? And I was like, you lot not
passing the eye test.
You lot do not watch us, and it shows. But what do you make of those 2 games?
I think Chelsea is probably. I would just jump to the conclusion and say Chelsea is a bit of a write-off. And I think if we are already safe by that point, you could probably see us turn up there and getting rolled over. But it doesn't really matter. But Liam Rosenior, they've obviously got quite a difficult run of games coming up for their own Champions League prospects.
Mm-hmm.
They have also, over the last couple of games, dropped points against teams that they should not be dropping points against. From winning positions, from 2-0 against Leeds, from 1-0 against Burnley at the weekend. So there is that element of frailty and naivety amongst the players, but they always just turn up against Tottenham. So I'm going to say a loss for that one. And hopefully it doesn't matter by that point. Because if Chelsea have got the opportunity to relegate us, then I don't think I'm ever watching this sport ever again.
Yeah, same. I've gone for a loss on that one. I think at that point we hopefully will be safe. And I think it will just be kind of, look, let's just keep the score down. And Chelsea, I think at that point Chelsea always play with a battery in their back against us. And I think against Everton, I think it will be a draw. I think it will be the final home game of the season. Everyone will be kind of in holiday mode. And Everton, I think, are kind of really playing for nothing at that point of the season. So I wouldn't expect either team to really pull up any tree. So I'll go for a loss against Chelsea and a draw at Everton.
I'm the same. But one thing I will say in terms of fate, the last time we played Everton at home on the last day of the season, we were in the Champions League final 2 weeks later. So,
hey,
I'm just saying. I mean, throw the Champions League. I couldn't care less at this point as long as we stay out. But I'm just saying, Everton at home last game of the season.
Listen, I've joked and teased that all season. I said, yo, it would just be the funniest thing ever for Spurs to just. Do you know what would be the most Spurs thing? To get to all the way to the Champions League final, lose it again, and somehow get relegated to the Champions League. That would just be like the most Spurs thing where we think we're gonna see the final. Nah. Not a chance. But listen, that is all the games. Let me see if I can get a points tally actually. So we both got 43 points actually. So let me just run through that quickly. Fulham away, you said loss. You said draw, sorry. I said loss. Palace at home, I said win. We both said win, actually. Liverpool away, we've both gone for a loss. Forest at home, we've both gone for a win. Sunderland away, we've both gone for a loss. Brighton at home, we've both gone for a draw. Wolves away, I've said win. You said draw. Villa away, I've said loss. You said draw. Leeds at home, we've both gone for wins. Chelsea away, we've both gone for loss. Everton at home, we've both gone for a draw. So at the end of the season, we should hopefully one way or another end up with 43 points. Look, we know this video could potentially get spun around. People be like, hey, didn't you say you're going to win there? Look, these are all predictions. We all get things wrong, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Ben, really appreciate you joining me as well. Make sure you go and check out all his content on his YouTube channel and socials as well. I will be leaving those in the description. Make sure you check out as well. We will be doing a video on his channel, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. But people, I will catch you guys on the next video. Till next time, peeps, take care.